Hello and welcome to my channel, ZeeGoes, and it's time for travel chats with Z. I'm Z. Anyway, Hey guys, before I go into this video, I just want to say rest in peace Kobe Bryant and to his daughter Gigi, and my heart goes out to the Bryant family along with the families that passed away in the helicopter and the helicopter pilots. My heart goes out to everyone involved with this accident. And yeah, so I made this video before this happened, so just enjoy and let me know what you think regarding this new travel ban from America to Nigeria. So right now, what I'm looking at is just talking about the major story that broke out last week. President Trump placed a ban on birth tourism. So every country that doesn't have the visa-free agreement with America has now been placed on birth tourism. So families from China, Russia, Nigeria can't simply, so mothers really, can't just show up to the embassy and try and get a visa to go give birth in America. They've restricted that a whole lot. So they placed that restriction on all the other countries who are not in the visa-free agreements with America, and Nigeria is part of that. And while we're not in major number with the whole census of people who do go there to go give birth, it's a major blow for the Nigerian mothers who save up a whole lot to afford to give birth to their child, where they feel safer doing it, because the Nigerian healthcare is not the best. Most people have family members, friends, know of somebody who died while giving birth in Nigeria from very simple issues that should have been easily rectified, but because we don't have the best healthcare system, a lot of issues come up in the hospitals that should have been easily resolved, but then you have lives being lost because of some hospital or doctor's malpractice. And so that's a major issue we do face here locally, that the average Nigerian who can afford to seek help and seek treatment elsewhere, they travel elsewhere for basic checkups. I know many women do like the yearly checkups in America, in UK, in other countries, because they don't feel safe here, where many things that should have been flagged early on, like cancer and whatnot, don't get flagged because the people you are paying money to make sure that you're okay are not well equipped to know better. And so many lives are lost from many of these issues in Nigeria. And so many families do plan where, okay, I'm going to give birth now, I'm going to save enough money for that time, that way I can spend about 10 grand, 12 grand. On average, families spend about 12 grand just for the one day of giving birth part, because what, you give birth and then you have to worry about where you're going to live, because number one, they give birth to a child, they find a home to stay in for a couple of months until the child is fully cleared to travel. And so in that time, many families have to find a home temporarily to make sure that they're okay and their child is also okay to fly. And before they even give birth, they have to be there early enough to avoid blood clots while traveling in the air. So just like many avenues of business actually will be impacted, because from hospitals to the hotels or the long stay apartment that people do rent just to afford to give birth to a child, they'll be gone now. And I read somewhere that people spend up to $80,000 just to have their child in America, and that's a lot. And with the restriction now coming into place, families now have to find where else they can go to in the world to give birth to their child in a safer environment, in a safer place, along with finding better passport opportunities, because that's also a major factor as to why Nigerian mothers give birth to their child in America. I know for sure that as an American, I know that my passport allows me to have a lot more access than my Nigerian friends and family members, where I can decide to go anywhere in the world and not have to think about the visa for the most part. Not everywhere, but in most countries I have access to. And that allows my costs to be a whole lot less. Where I know that for Nigerian passports, if you live in Lagos, going into Morocco, you have to spend about 100 grand on average just for a visa. And that's not including the cost of your hotel, air, airfare, your spending costs, your shopping, anything you want to do in the country. So on average, people spend about half a million naira just to go for a 5 day holiday, and that's like a major part of that is the visa cost. Whereas as an American, that cost is taken off for me. I can do a country hopping around Southeast Asia without having to deal with so much stress that most Nigerians have to deal with. And so all of that cost is a major one, because in a year I travel a lot and I probably save about a million naira just not dealing with the cost of visa. And the average Nigerian who has to travel anywhere has to always factor that cost into everywhere they need to go to for the most part. Because we do have 50 countries we have access to, and half of that is visa free, the other half are on arrival for visa. So we're still paying something, but just less stress getting that visa access instead. But then that's just the issue where many families want that passport because it affords them a lot more than a Nigerian passport affords. And beyond the travel enjoyment factor, there's the educational factor. Nigeria, average, going to a government school, to Unilag, yeah, all those schools, they're on strike almost all the time. I know when I went to college in was it '03? During that year, there were so many strikes happening where people were at home because strike from not paying the teachers, strikes from terrible work conditions, just different things. And so many people have to put their life on hold just for strikes in Nigeria. And so many people who could have spent 4 years in college spend about 6 years. Some spend 7 years because they're having to spend a lot of time dealing with the school strikes. And that's ridiculous. Whereas in America, you don't have to deal with that. You go to school, you finish your studies, and you get out within the time you plan to get out. So it's not because of your lazy, it's because somebody else didn't get paid, and because they didn't get paid, you can't go to school. And so just like you have the government, pretty much being a major impact and impeding your own life progress. And so many Nigerians see the American passport as, hey, my child in 18 or so years from now, he or she can go to America and will be guaranteed a better educational structure, system, and support than he or she would have in Nigeria, and at a much less cost. So if the child goes to America and spends a year paying into the country's system, so you now have an address over there, you've been paying your taxes, you're now part of the system, you get to be a part of the in-state college fees. The tuition is a lot less. So going to a pretty good school in Atlanta for a full semester, you're paying maybe like 1 grand or like 1,500 grand. So when you then include your college books and everything, you're saying about 2 grand. Whereas for an out-of-state student, an international student, so you have the out-of-state student fee, that's separate. International students spend about 10 grand, 15 grand for tuition per semester. So just having that passport affords them a whole lot more than they would without that passport. And then beyond the educational part of it, there's also the employment space, career space, where you have a better education in a better country that has a lot more support for you. And so you then go into the workforce and you can start your own company there and not deal with the stress the Nigerian government brings to SME entrepreneurs in Nigeria. I own a company here and I deal with the beauty manufacturing space, and God, like what we spend every day just to like different levies they bring to my office, different taxes. I remember last year someone came to the office saying they would lock up my office because we hadn't paid for TV and radio fees. And we're like, we don't have TV here. The only computer is here. And he said, your computer is also TV. And the bill was, I think, about 120K. Like, oh, because you're a business, you must pay a higher tax fee for having TV and radio. And because I was owning something, I'm like, please. So luckily, I pay a company like for the legal and tax bit. So I'm like, hey, can you please have a cease and desist sent to them? And once that happened, that stopped them from coming to me with their ridiculous bills. But then that's the factor of being in Nigeria, where every day there's some government body trying to just pretty much get some money out of you without even. I'm like, I just opened my office. I haven't even sold anything. There are many stories out there where you haven't even opened, haven't even launched, even like gotten the key to your office, and they've already like slapped you with so many taxes and so many bills, and you're just like, can I breathe? Can I actually like launch my business first and actually earn something before you just hit me with all of these bills? And that's like the environment we're in Lagos here. And so parents are always looking for the best for their child. And so employment wise, like, you know what, like if you're well educated, you have the know-how, you're smart, you well equipped for everything, you can get a job in the country that would allow you to succeed and do better. And so with the American birth tourism pretty much been yanked out of that space, kids going forward, the unborn kids whose parents plan to have them in America have to put a hold on that. But guess what though? There are other countries that are out there that do offer birth tourism. And so people who want this for their family, for their future, shouldn't just lose hope on that. Canada has birth tourism, and it's more affordable than America's birth tourism system. It's less cost for the healthcare over there than America's healthcare system. Chile also has. They're a bit more expensive, but then they do also offer birth tourism where you give birth to your child and your child automatically becomes Chilean. There's the ones from Mexico, from Barbados, from Argentina. There are many other countries that do offer birth tourism and also offer even better opportunities for the parents too. So the mothers, I know for Argentina, when you give birth to your child in Argentina and you live there for about 18 months, you also get residence. I believe it's either you get the permanent residence card or a passport, either of the two. But then the mothers do get a chance to also get some kind of access to better future than what the Nigerian passport does offer. Because someone like Argentina, for example, they have access to 110 countries visa free. They have access to about 50 countries for visa on arrival. They have 38 countries that need visa to get into with the passport. But then comparing that to Nigeria's numbers, a whole lot better when we have 50 overall countries for both visa on arrival and visa free. We have 23 countries we can go into without needing a visa, 27 countries that we can get visa on arrival, and the remaining are 148 countries that we need visa to get into. So there are other options beyond America to get this passport upgrade for your child, and some of them even offer better ones for the parents, where the parents can then choose to move there or live there for a couple of years or less and get a passport to those countries too. So Nigerians, don't lose hope. And now for those who are like, like why trying to give people options to go to America, to Canada, to Mexico, to Chile, to other places, my reason is this. We can always beat our chest and say, Nigeria, now we will sit up, now we will do better, now we will have better healthcare system for the locals. But reality is, the people who do have the power to help make this better and have the chance to make it better and have the money to help make the system become better, they have diplomatic passports and don't need to give birth in Nigeria and don't have to deal with Nigerians' problems. So what we're facing here, we can complain from now to tomorrow because it doesn't affect the people that can make our lives a difference. Then we're still here complaining about the problem. So if it's not safe for you to give birth in Nigeria, there are other options. And that's my own point right now. Now, do I want things to be better for Nigeria? Do I want to have a better healthcare system and not always have this constant nightmare that if something terrible happens to me in Nigeria, I may be screwed because the doctor that I may get rushed to go see wouldn't know how to treat me properly, and that's it for me. And that's a constant fear for many people who live in Nigeria, where the fear of, oh crap, if anything happens to me in Lagos, on the road, anything, anywhere, like, what do I do? Because at that point, I have no power over how well the doctor would treat me. Whereas if I was in a country that has a better healthcare system, I feel safer and better about where I'm being treated compared to over here. And we always joke about how, what would these government officials do if they have an accident on by the expressway? How would they get treated? Who would treat them? How would their luxury, their jets, and all that whole thing help them? Because at that point, they are in critical state and they have to be seen by a local doctor. What do they do then? And right now, it hasn't changed, and it's been a thing we've been saying for years, for decades now. At what point will that change? Do you think that the U.S. Birth tourist restriction will change that? I don't think so. I feel like we're a country where when push comes to shove, we just shrug and just say it'll get better. And I know I sound a bit like, a bit defeated, but then we are in a country that, and we know what the facts are. I'm a realist. Like, when I do want to have better for Nigeria, I want to have more in this country. I know what I'm working with. I live here. I can easily not live here, but then because there's a lot more, and I'm trying to do my own best within my little space, you can only just face the truth and just know that there is Canada, there is Mexico, there is Chile, there are other options, other countries. So for mothers who want the best for their future child, look at those options instead and see if that would be a better one for you. Until then, have a good day, and remember, for those who are aware of the Tarkwa Bay, Elisha, Snake Island problem, where many of the families got displaced last week, used by the Nigerian army. If you want to help donate and help support the families that currently have no homes right now, I will just put in the information down below for you guys to help support in whatever way you can. I've got a video highlighting a bit of the story, but yeah, that's it for today. Thank you and have a good week. Ciao. Subscribe. I can't even move. Okay, let's do it again. Okay, so are you following me yet? Are you subscribed to my channel? Have you hit the like button and the notification button? If not, kindly do so right now. I beg. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Subscribe.